Man, do I love Overwatch. That's actually a surprising thing to me after years of rejecting a lot of online-based multiplayer-only games, especially this generation. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, much less love it as much as I do. But seriously, how could I not? It has a giant space gorilla in it. The joy that is Overwatch firmly plants itself and grows out of its clever character design. My wife, for example, hasn't played a single second of this game herself, but can name a large portion of the game's cast. They're recognizable, yet distinct enough to be their own. Look at this cast. In addition to the aforementioned space gorilla, you also have a cowboy, ninjas, soldiers, blue spider women, overweight characters, a woman with a prosthetic limb, and robot Dalsum. The Overwatch cast has inspired all sorts of joyous celebration unseen for a very long time in the AAA game scene. It definitely helps that the gameplay is solid and addictive. While there are no characters that feel like an entire waste to play as, each of these characters they play organically, and with good teamwork, you can be successful with any character. It probably sounds like I'm going out of my way to praise Overwatch, and I guess that I am. The reason for that, though, is because commentary like the kind I want to make is sometimes hurtful. It can feel like even making a loose critique automatically makes everything about a game look bad. It's almost as if gamers might be a little too sensitive about seeing games that they like being criticized. So let me reiterate. Everything I'm going to talk about in a moment is because I think Overwatch is a great game. In fact, I'd argue its existence is a net good for games as a whole. With a focus on making a genuinely fun experience, Overwatch has proven that games are much better when it has a soul, as opposed to a game that's just built by the numbers. Though it's worth pointing out that it's not the only game to have done this recently. I'm certain that the overwhelming positive reception to this game will direct game development into a much better direction this generation. Shame about the microtransactions, though. If you don't know, Overwatch's reward system is based entirely around loot boxes. Those boxes contain a random assortment of items, such as skins for your heroes, victory poses for when you never get play of the game, different lines for heroes to say for some reason, and sprays which are just used to make a mess. Now, loot boxes are obtained through leveling up while playing the game, but you only get one per level, no matter how leveled you actually are. But if you need more, don't worry! For $1 a piece, Blizzard will sell you another box of random items. But Travis, you type in the comments, all of these are cosmetic items. What's the big deal? Well, that, dear viewer, is the point of this episode. I believe that something to always be wary of in the AAA scene is the means in which something is actually being sold to us. And I believe that the loot box system to be one of the most cynical use of microtransactions in a video game ever. To understand why that is, we have to break the details of Overwatch and its loot boxes down a little bit more. First of all, the obvious. Overwatch is not a free-to-play game. It's a full-priced retail title. That $60 gets you a lot of game for sure, but $60 is $60. We have already put up quite a bit of cash as the audience. In fact, there shouldn't be any real reason in the first place for any retail-priced game to feel the need to nickel and dime players in the first place, seeing as we've already paid the entry fee. Then there's the items within the boxes themselves. Everything is random, but not everything has the same ratio to be pulled. It's instead divided into rarities, particularly the skins. When you do get an item from a box, it's immediately added to your collection, but is not removed from the potential items that you can get from a box, meaning you have the exact same chance to get the exact same item no matter what you do. In fact, the more loot boxes, the more likely that this is going to be to happen. Now, to help mitigate this a bit, Blizzard put in an in-game currency that can be used to directly buy items, but really the skins, that you want. You can get currency directly from the boxes, and if you do get a duplicate item, it's instead converted into the same currency. However, the amounts you get are paltry, and make it very difficult to get the needed amount for what you actually want. So again, basically the skins. And remember, all of this is completely randomized. What's more, the Overwatch currency cannot be directly purchased, nor can you just pony up the cash for whatever it is you actually want. Only loot boxes. If you're a fan of Blizzard, all of this may start to sound familiar. The loot box system works incredibly similar to the booster pack system within Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. In Hearthstone, the only way to really expand your card collection is by opening packs that are either earned in small amounts, or purchased with in-game currency or good old-fashioned money. But in Hearthstone, this system works. The Hearthstone packs directly impact gameplay, as they give you more cards to play with. However, this is not the only way to obtain cards, and entirely different cards can be obtained through gameplay. Additionally, packs are subsequently divided into sets that severely narrow the field of what you're going to obtain. Plus, as you cannot just buy the cards you want directly, everyone's on the same playing field in terms of opportunity, meaning that no, Hearthstone is not a pay-to-win game by those snarky definitions. So why does this work for Hearthstone but not Overwatch? Well, despite the fact that all the rewards in Overwatch are indeed cosmetic, they are also the only things that are actually earned through playing the game at all, since all the characters and maps are unlocked for those $60. The more levels you gain, the more games you have to play in order to get the next level for that one measly loot box. That loot box may contain something great, but will more likely contain something that is either a duplicate or not even remotely close to what it is you're looking for. And there's no way to increase your chances except for spending money. And this is where we hit the cynical point. There's no way to truly make progress, to know that you're closer to your goal, or to even maintain the illusion that you're making progress. If you do break down and buy a crap ton of boxes, you might get closer, but you'll likely be left with a mess of duplicates, devaluing the money you just spent. It's a vicious and unrelenting cycle. Now there will be defenders, of course. Corporate white knights trumpeting that servers cost money, and that updates are going to be free, and all of that money has to come from somewhere. And sure, that's true, the money does have to come from somewhere. Except when Psyonix can release Rocket League on one platform entirely for free, keep most cosmetics as unlockables, make all game-influencing content free, create cross-platform play, and sell me licensed content like the Back to the Future DeLorean for only a couple of bucks, I have a bit of a hard time believing Blizzard is strapped for cash. And that's the real cynicism too. The bigger picture of who it is we're actually dealing with here. You see, Blizzard is a subsidiary of Activision Blizzard, usually just known as Activision. You're probably familiar with them. Activision has created a culture within their company in which every game that they publish has to be able to squeeze as much money out of the audience as possible. This is a company that has to squeeze out new Skylanders games every year as an excuse to pump out even more toys as opposed to supporting the existing ones. This is a company that was willing to leave early adopters of Destiny in the dust with the release of Taken King in favor of trying to resell the original game to people. This is a company that isn't just content with the yearly Call of Duty money storm. There has to be expensive map packs and special editions, and even now locking remastered versions of previous games that could easily make disposable cash by itself behind a different edition of the new game. Because easy money isn't good enough. It's not all the money. And of course, the ultimate cash cow, Blizzard's own World of Warcraft, which itself has earned recent ire from the community over the forced removal of fan-hosted legacy servers running the original version of the game. And while that business is legally dubious at best, it's also clear that Blizzard isn't going to be able to run their own versions of these such servers, because how can they sell new expansions that way? Even subscription fees are no longer enough for Activision. I'm not just being snarky either. In 2013, Activision Blizzard actually had so much disposable cash, they were able to completely buy themselves out from under their own parent company, and had no impact to the business at all. Those things don't just happen. Heck, Ubisoft, right now, is terrified that this very same parent company is going to come in and do a hostile takeover of them. The money is there. And that's the saddest part about Overwatch's microtransactions and reward system. There were so many better ways to handle the cosmetic system. Maybe every character could have its own level up system just to unlock these items, or even just sell me the items I want piecemeal. But we're not going to get any of those no matter what. Because Activision's system works. People will buy Call of Duty Infinite Warfare to get Modern Warfare Remastered. People will keep buying Destiny expansions and paying their WoW subscriptions. Kids are already making Christmas lists with the new Skylanders figures on the top. And people will buy loot boxes. Like Overwatch, most of these games are great. It's just a shame that underneath all that greatness is nothing more than the standard, cynical greed. Except Destiny. That game is boring. Hey there. It just didn't feel right to post this video about Overwatch, a game that doesn't focus on, but does include a lot of guns, without bringing up some sort of mention of what happened last weekend in Orlando. Not that I think that video games cause people to do murders or things like that, but more to not fart at a funeral, so to speak. Thought I knew what I was going to say for this, but the problem is that the words are so hard to say. You first hear of the death of a YouTuber that you're not familiar with, which is in my case. I had not heard of Christina Grimmie, but I assure you I have now. That's devastating all by itself. To then follow that up with the death of 49 people and over 50 more bleeding out in hospitals, all for the same reason, because somebody could. It's gut-wrenching. And there are a lot of people saying a lot of things that are better than what I could say. Though if you follow me on Twitter, you know how I feel about all of it. This show is meant to be a show where I try to make the conversation about video games a little bit better, a little bit more clear-cut, a little bit more honest. And I'm going to keep doing that because I want to try to make the world better with what little part that I can contribute. And I think we all want to do that in our own way, try to make the world a little bit better. And my hope is that we'll be able to do that very soon. To the families of those that were lost, we will not stop trying to find ways to make the world better. We will continue to make it so that people can't do this to people. All of that being said, I do believe that games have the power to heal, to have the power to help us cope. I think again about what I've learned about Christina Grimmie in the last week and how she was a video game fan, how she turned out to be was going to be a guest at Nintendo. Just that whole reality. That's why I didn't scrap this, is because we all just need to heal, and we should give the families time to heal, but that's not an excuse to get real about the situation and start moving forward. So as someone with some sort of part to play in this, as a voter, as a citizen, as a human being, I will keep trying to be that as well. And if you're one of those people who think that, like, oh, you're making a big deal out of somebody's death and you're politicizing it, if your response is not, how do we prevent this from ever happening again, I don't know what your response could possibly be on a logical level, because if it were my family that this had happened to, that would be the only question I'm asking. So, here's to a better world, and I will see you guys next week.